And hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We are on the air once again with another Gafford and Brown Show. My name is Lamar Gafford,
And I'm Robert Brown.
and we are going to talk about pretty much most of the pressing events in the sports world today. First of all, we talk about the NBA that's going on. The NBA, as far as right now, we're pretty much outside the All-Star break, and now we're getting into the meat of the season where people are trying to get into the playoffs and all that. But first of all, I just wanted to talk about the trade deadline at first. We kind of were hoping for some big trades, but we did not get any in the deadline. Josh Smith wound up not being moved. We only had a few small pieces and stuff. Don't you think? Wouldn't you think that that pretty much had something to do with the luxury tax on that one, Rob?
Yeah, the luxury tax and the fact that this off season there were a lot of big trades and moves involved. I mean, you can't forget about the Steve Nash acquisition and Dwight Howard trade going on between Orlando and the Lakers and Phoenix, and then you had the big James Harden deal to Houston. So there was a lot of moves this off season that kept a lot of teams from making moves in the trade deadline. There were a couple of disappointments that, I thought a lot of teams would have made that push, towards, Josh Smith, or maybe, get get a young star like DeMarcus Cousins out of Sacramento because, it's clear that he doesn't want to play there. The team's probably going to move, so they're going to throw it over soon. And I'm sure a team could have got the bargain on him, considering that, he's had so much trouble there and that they're going to be starting over soon. So why not give him off, get a couple draft picks and, just roll the dice. A lot of people were expecting to see a team like the Celtics make a move. I'm glad they stayed pat. I wish they could have done a deal for Cousins, considering how deep they are. But they, a lot of people were talking about Dwight Howard possibly being built from LA. Glad that didn't happen, because he's their only shot to make the playoffs if they make the playoffs. And really a quiet trade deadline, but I can't say that it was unexpected. So all still made it. What are your takes on it?
Well, I have to say the same thing. It's pretty much it was pretty much quiet. Now everybody, like, is always during the trade deadline. Everybody's always jazzed about it. They always want to see, okay, what can their team do? What can their team, who can they pick up? Are their team buyers? Are their team sellers? We kind of didn't see too much of that. I mean, we only seen a few young pieces actually being moved. Because looking at it right now, the Sacramento Kings actually traded away Thomas Robinson to the Houston Rockets, and pretty much the Rockets did not have to give up a lot to get this guy. And outside of that, I mean, the only big names, or the only names of importance that we really saw move was like J.J. Redick to the Milwaukee Bucks, Eric Maynard to the Portland Trailblazers, Jordan Crawford going to the Boston Celtics, Anthony Morrow to the Dallas Mavericks, but outside of that, it was kind of like, you know, nothing too much. And again, I really do think that the CBA does have something to do with it because everybody's trying to figure out, okay, I mean, can we go over? I mean, how can we do this? And I believe it's probably going to take a little bit of time in order to realize once it all kicks in. But once all the GMs get the idea of it, then more than likely they might try to, try to tailor their system and tailor their plans because of that. But mostly it's just pretty much was about the future and all that. And so, we kind of didn't see too many big names, but then again, we did see some things that probably made a few teams better by a little bit of cosmetic moves and all that.
Right. Simple pieces like Portland getting Eric Maynor, a young veteran point guard who can, take over and help them towards that push, and, J.J. Redick going to Milwaukee, team right now that could use his perimeter game to, solidify that 8th seed that they're trying to keep. And, just small moves that help teams grow towards contendership. Now, a lot of people were shocked about the Josh Smith deal not going through, but at the same time, we have to realize that this is a team that's in the playoff race and that can make some noise if they keep the piece they have. And let's not, Josh is a valuable piece for them, but at the same time, if you're going to walk, you're going to walk.
Mm-hmm. And that's just the thing right there. It's again the nature of the beast. And you kind of would have wished that maybe a team like Brooklyn would have got a chance to pick them up, but sadly they didn't have any assets from picking them up because they actually wasted most of them pretty much in the Joe Johnson deal. And also the draft pick that they originally had was actually gone to the Portland Trailblazers with Gerald Wallace. In order for them to get in the outcome, Portland got Damian Lillard because of that. So, you kind of would have hoped that maybe Atlanta would have made a deal, but then again, they probably made the right chance to stay pat because Josh Smith is a valuable piece. And then once again, who knows? They can try to get maybe a player like the White, make him come back home in the off season next year. So. It's not really a loss. Again, you kind of would have wished that they would have made a move, maybe get some more flexibility. But then again, it's kind of not a loss at all.
Right, not at all.
But see, outside of all the whole CBA thing, we have a little bit of a thing here with the Lakers. The Lakers are pretty much going to be in a position where since the new CBA effects is going to kick in next season, with them being $30 million over the cap, instead of them having to pay about $60 million in luxury tax, I think it's $60 million in luxury tax next year, they might have to wind up paying $100 million in luxury tax. And on Friday on the Spin and Skin show on ESPN Dallas, Mark Cuban was actually made some remarks about the Lakers situation, that the Lakers should amnesty Kobe Bryant in order to try to get them a little bit more flexibility and all. Do you think that they're gonna actually amnesty Kobe, and what do you think about that, Rob?
Well, that has to be the dumbest thing Mark Cuban has ever said. And I consider Mark Cuban to be a very intelligent man, but who amnesties the face of their franchise? I mean, that's just ridiculous. No one's telling him, hey, you should amnesty Dirk. Cuban has been hit and miss lately, and he's been more missed lately.
Mm-hmm.
Championship season was the highlight of his, ownership of the Mavericks. But after that, things have been taking a weird downward, I don't want to say downward spiral, but things have been going down more so than up, considering the fact that he willingly gutted the team to make room for a huge acquisition this past offseason that didn't happen. One of the reasons many people say that they didn't land Darren Williams is because Cuban wasn't there personally to address Williams. He had to go do filming for Shark Tank, his reality show. And, we don't know necessarily that's the reason why Darren Williams chose Brooklyn over Dallas, but it never hurts to have the owner of the team as vocal as Mark Cuban there to talk with a superstar. They didn't make the move to get the White. They thought they could get the White, the trades or whatever. They pretty much restocked up on free agents and traded for a couple of role players. So you have this Mavericks team right now that can lift its way into the playoffs. That's not guaranteed necessarily. By no one to go so far in the playoffs if they do make the playoffs. It's just a weird couple of seasons for Mark Cuban, and now he's making these comments about amnestying Kobe Bryant, who's arguably one of the not only the greatest players right now, but one of the greatest players of all time. For was kind of ridiculous on Mark Cuban's part to even, consider saying something like that. Because it's not going to happen. Kobe Bryant has at least 2 more years playing at this level. I think he has another year on his contract. It's silly. It's silly. I can't believe Cuban would say such a thing. And it's getting to the point now where Cuban's becoming more of a distraction than what he once was as an ambassador of the game. It's just very disheartening. I like Mark Cuban. I like his mind. I like his nature. It's very comforting to see an owner that outspoken sometimes and that a friend of the fans. But the past year and a half has been a bit annoying and a bit troublesome. I'll say. What about you, Lamar, being a Mavericks fan? How do you feel?
Well, my personal opinion about this was I wish he shouldn't have made those comments because their opponent on Saturday happened to be the Lakers, and it pretty much the reason why he might have said the comments in the first place. But when you say something like that, that kind of gets a player like Kobe Bryant going, and that has ramifications to this season. Now, I wish he kind of also didn't say that because you really know it's not going to be true. Because even though Kobe Bryant is going to make $30 million in the last year of his contract, which is next season, the Lakers are not going to get rid of Kobe Bryant. I mean, by any means necessary, they're not going to do that. They're going to try to. Kobe Bryant is going to retire as a Laker. I mean, it's point blank. It's point blank, pretty much like that. He loves that franchise. He loves that franchise. They've made the necessary pieces to get him like players like Pau Gasol in 2008 in order to try to get him to get the championship, those 2 championships in 2009 and 2010. But they're not going to get rid of Kobe Bryant by any means. I mean, he's still performing at that high of a level that really, you're really not going to get rid of him. And pretty much right now, you also got to look at it by the Mavericks thing. And I'm glad that you did say something like that because right now I kind of notice a little bit of a downward spiral with the team too, which I hope that they can actually pull themselves out and probably make it to the playoffs and maybe make a little bit of noise. But this year it doesn't look like the Mavs are going to make it to the playoffs. And if they do, they might get the 7th or 8th seed and might have to play against San Antonio or maybe Oklahoma City or maybe even the Clippers. And that might not be good for them either. So, you kind of wish he wouldn't say some of those comments sometimes. Now, I like the way that he thinks. I like the way how he is. I mean, he's a Maverick owner pretty much in more ways than one because, he says some stuff that's outside the box sometimes. But you kind of wish he wouldn't have said those comments in the first place, though.
Right. Now, I want to ask you, with you being a Mavs fan and all, how disheartening is it for Mark Cuban to make comments like this about Anderson, Kobe Bryant, and things of that nature? I want to say kind of like taking sneak this is their teams when you can criticize his moves as of the last year and a half with, one, gutting the team, letting valuable free agents walk, such as Tyson Chandler, J.J. Barea, just important pieces like that leave and, not try to secure them for another championship run possibly. And then you get the team and for 2012 to try to land a big acquisition and you're not even there to meet with this superstar player that you could potentially sign. And then you have other players walk, such as Jason Terry, Jason Kidd, who left to go play in a whole other conference. And they left on somewhat bittersweet terms, and now they're having success on teams that may make the playoffs while their former team won't. How frustrating is that as a fan? And exactly how do you feel about the Mavs plans in the long run?
Well, it's pretty frustrating to be honest with you on that one, Rob, because you kind of wish that you would have got a chance to keep some of those players. I mean, Jason Kidd, he was a very good player. I didn't like him when they first traded for him, but in time I started to like him a little bit more. That he was pretty much, he wasn't the best point guard. He wasn't what he once was, but still he was still able to, you know, pass the ball, get an assist with his mind and stuff. And he had the mind of a good point guard. And Jason Terry was also, a very good sixth man as well too. It is frustrating. It is frustrating. The one thing I can take out of this season is the hope that it seems like Dirk Nowitzki is coming back in the form. And if you saw, in the game that he had against the Lakers last night, he had a double-double. And it seems like slowly but surely he's getting back into form. Now, will this help us down the road? We hope so. Hopefully it does. Hopefully it does. And hopefully we don't end up in the lottery. But I guess it's just taking time for everything to gel. And as far as the future is concerned, they might need to go to a little bit more of a younger, a younger mold to the future. Which I think that's one of the reasons why they got O.J. Mayo, was because to help out Dirk Nowitzki in scoring. But it kind of is a little frustrating because you're seeing all that success that the Mavericks have had over the past, I think, 12, 13 years, where they've won 50 games at least every single year until last year, and then made it to the playoffs every single year, and which was one of the reasons why I actually liked the team, because of their, I think their series against Utah in 2001. But it is frustrating. It is really frustrating, and you kind of would have hoped that, he could have been there, could have got there, Darren Williams. But then again, it's also a little bit of a blessing and a curse. So, you just got to take it with a grain of salt here.
Right. And that's all you can do as a fan, is just hope that your management makes the right decisions on landing players and building chemistry and getting a good product out on the floor.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, once again, you look at the draft next year. With this year's draft, it's not too good, and who's to really say? You really would hope that hopefully they can make the playoffs. But then again, if you make the lottery, who's to really say that there's not really any standout in draft picks? So, we just got to hope for the best and all that. And that's the only thing you can do in this case. Now, outside of this, we had another game last night where we saw the Oklahoma City Thunder play against the Chicago Bulls, and they basically ran them out of the building. You had Kevin Durant that actually had a double-double in the first half. Right now, looking at all the Western teams here, it's pretty much between San Antonio, OKC, and the Clippers that are fighting for that number one seed and actually fighting for the best record in the NBA. Which team do you think is going to get it, Rob?
Honestly, I have to say I'm leaning more so towards Oklahoma City because Greg Popovich is a mastermind when it comes to the end of the season, and he's all about preserving his players for the postseason. So it wouldn't shock me or hesitate me one bit to see him sit Tim Duncan in a couple of games, sit Parker, sit Ginobili, maybe sit all three again, So it's not going to shock me if he does that towards the end of the season. Not just, because I don't think he cares much about seeding sometimes. I think he's more so content on having his players as healthy as they can be come postseason. Mm-hmm. And with that run the Spurs had last season in the postseason, it was actually scary because, you look at the Western Conference Finals last year against Oklahoma City, mm-hmm. and you saw the Spurs come out of those couple games looking energized, looking like they were capable of, putting Oklahoma away. But once again, the youth got the best of them, and, those games, that one game where Oklahoma City, I think they shot the ball at least 50%, 60%, they just shots going down, and you can't stop it sometimes. They got hot, and they gave the Spurs, a bitter taste in their mouth. And the Spurs are one of those teams where they're doing so well during the regular season. We've seen this story before. But once they make the postseason, I either they're a victim of a younger team that's just, better than them, or they're a victim of a team that's bigger than them on front. And we saw it the year before last, or was that 2 years ago when they played Memphis in the first round and they were eliminated.
Yeah.
Against that big front court with Gasol and Zach Randolph. And last year, they took that they lost against a younger team that was faster than them. So, I mean, the Spurs are a great team. They're fun to watch. They're well coached, but it's just we can't see them get over that postseason hump. It's been like that for a while, And Oklahoma City right now is my favorite, not only to win the West, but also to win the whole thing, because I think they're the most balanced team to me in the West. I know people talk about Russell Westbrook and his ability to, lose focus sometimes, but you have to realize they made it to the finals with him as a point guard, so I'm quite sure that the same magic can work again. Granted that, they've got more pieces around him. They've got Reggie Jackson coming off the bench now who can come in and control and get some minutes. I'm still a little perplexed about them trading Eric Maynard. Maybe it was something we didn't know. He hasn't been performing as well as they thought he would this year. But, he was a good veteran point guard that could take over the game when Westbrook would go through those laps of judgment. But, hey, Durant has been, he's been taking over the game more. He's been asking for the ball more. Kevin Martin has stepped up tremendously. A lot of people I see a lot of people sleeping on him this season. I think he's going to be possibly the sixth man of the year. Looking at his numbers, they're consistent, and he's done a lot to keep this team as one of the West elite.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Clippers are a great team, but they've had some moments of going up and down with the Chris Paul injury and, him coming back and them trying to gel. And you have Chauncey Billups coming back and Grant Hill. This is a team that I know it might be good, but they have so much going on that I don't think there's any way to give proper minutes out. And I think it's going to hurt them come postseason because their rotation looks to be in a bit of a flux, if you will. And I think they're a great team to watch, but when you get them half court, which is going to happen come postseason, not much happens. You got DeAndre Jordan who's gotten better, but still he's not able to give you consistent numbers. Blake has come along fine this year, but once you get them in the half court offense, things get a little stagnant. So that's going to come to hard time come the postseason. That's why I have Oklahoma City probably winning out and getting the number one seed. And it's just going to be fun to watch how this race goes. Who do you have getting number one, Mark?
Well, I really think in this case, I think it could be actually San Antonio, because even though that Popovich might get a chance to, sit out his players, and we know that he is willing to do that, no matter how meaningful or meaningless the game is. If he's gonna give Ginobili and Parker and Duncan a rest, he's gonna do it. We already know that. And right now, looking at it, they're 3 games ahead of the Thunder, and I really think that I think San Antonio might have enough just to at least fend them off, fend them away, and all that. I really think, though, in looking at it, the Thunder, and you look at how they did last year, that they showed that they could win a game, win the series without having home field advantage against San Antonio. That might have I still think they could probably wind up as number 2. I don't think they're going to be number 1, but I still think the OKC is going to make it to the finals. I still think so, because you look at the team has gotten a lot better. Like you said about Kevin Durant, he's taken his game to a whole nother level. Russell Westbrook, even though he can be inconsistent at times, he's still doing a pretty nice job. And then, I kind of would have wished that they could have still kept Maynard instead of having to get Derek Fisher again for another season, which we just actually, that news broke last night about that. But you kind of wish that wouldn't have happened. As far as the Clippers, you kind of hope that they would really need the number one seed bad, but then again, like you said too, uh, their free throws is going to pretty much be a concern for them. And with Blake Griffin and with DeAndre Jordan, they're not too good when they go to the line. They're flashy when it comes to dunks, but they're not too good when they come to the line. And you kind of also wish that they would have made a little bit of a move too. That maybe, even though you got players like Eric Bledsoe, that's probably going to be like, that's behind in the lineup here. You kind of wish that they could have moved him, maybe get a guy like Kevin Garnett, but I can't see them get the number one seed. I think number 3 is pretty much going to be the place where they're going to be at.
Right. And that Garnett idea floated around for a long time. It was really one of the major storylines going into All-Star break about KG's future and him possibly going to the Clippers. But as we see, that didn't happen. Do you think Boston did the right thing and staying packed, or do you think they should have made a move?
I think they could have made a move, but in that case, it would have been under Kevin Garnett's consent, because he doesn't have he has a low trade clause about that. But could they have made a move to get younger and to help him out and help Paul Pierce out and help out their other Grizzly veterans out? Yes, they could have. And I actually saw somewhere that they did think about making a move. They did think about wanting to trade away Paul Pierce for, I think, to the Brooklyn Nets for I think Mirza Teletovic, Chris Humphries, and I think a couple of first-round draft picks, but Brooklyn said no to that deal. So, in this case, Boston could have made a deal that could have got them younger, but then they could have got a deal that could have made them younger in this case. But then again, they chose not to, and they kind of chose to stay put, other than Jordan Crawford. So it's gonna remain to be seen what's going to happen with their future and all of that. So
Right. Now, do you think that recent success without Rondo? Do you think the recent success makes Rondo more expendable in the long run? Or do you think this is just a happen of circumstances that they're playing better without him with that underdog mentality?
it's pretty much I think it's just probably what you said of the latter, because we all know Boston's not too great of a first half team, and we've seen they've done this over the last few years. They really struggled in the first half, but once it gets after the All-Star break and once it gets to the second half of the season, somehow that light switch just turns on to them and they get a lot better. And right now we're seeing that they're getting a lot better right now, because they pulled out of the 8th seed, they're now at 7, and they're just only 3 games away from the 6th and actually the 5th seed. So, they might can try to make that move, and if they can somehow avoid Miami in the playoffs, they might have a much better chance to survive. I'm not saying that it might happen, but then again, if they can try to avoid, that's all there is to them. They just want to try to avoid Miami. So yeah.
Right, that's very true. If they could somehow avoid Miami until the Eastern Conference Finals, then maybe they might have a puncher shot. But who knows?
And who really does know? And because right now anything can shape up, anything can happen between now. We still got 2 months in the season left, so it's pretty much going to be a good race. I feel like. So we're going to take ourselves a little bit of a 30-second break. We'll be back to talk about a little bit more happenings going on in the sports world. This is the Gafford and Brown Show, and we will be right back.
It's pretty bad for him.
Yep. Well, we're right back to the Gafford and Brown Show, and we had our NBA segment just now. We were just talking about a little bit about the Lakers coming down to the stretch. Did you know the Lakers got themselves a pretty interesting game in the last half of the season? I mean, and I think the last game of the season against the Houston Rockets.
Wow. And that may because right now the Rockets are the 8th, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, so that game might come down for all the marbles. And right now, looking at it, I really don't see them winning the game against Houston because Houston has been clicking so much. And they have one of the most efficient offenses in the league.
Right, and the same here because I look at this Rockets team and they've gotten, it seems like that James Harden deal really energized that team, and it has helped them out a whole lot. And I think the big move that they made for Thomas Robinson actually is going to help them out because now you got yourself a younger player who can help out your team sometime in the future, and sometime down the road. And who knows how big of players how they could be in the free agency market next year because they're thinking about trying to get the White just like everybody else is. So
right, and they've been flirting with the White for a while. Like this is a team that was making plans to get Dwight Howard in the postseason. So if they could land him somehow, some way this offseason, then wow, you got one contender on your hand.
exactly. So like we said about the playoff races, it's pretty before our break. It's going to be pretty good. And looking at some of the matchups that are like if the playoffs were to begin today, looking at some of the matchups, I would really love to see all these West matchups because right now it looks like you got San Antonio against Houston in the 1-8, Oklahoma City against Utah, which I think OKC got this one they got this one. Clippers and Golden State, which ought to be a very good 3-6 matchup, and then a 4-5 matchup between Memphis and Denver. So,
which could very well be the upset of playoffs with Golden State winning that.
Exactly, and I looked at their game against the Spurs. I think it was Wednesday. Yeah, it was Wednesday. No, not Wednesday, but Friday. Friday. Yeah, Friday. I looked at their game, and you saw once again, Golden State fans are always the best fan, or kind of like one of the best fans in the NBA, if not the best fans.
Without question.
Like even if they're winning, they're gonna come out to support their team loud and proud. If they're losing, they're still gonna come out to support their team loud and proud. And once again, they just provide a great brand of basketball, which is fun and exciting. And to a team that's probably one of the top teams and they have to go out there, I would be afraid if I were them going to Oracle Arena.
Right, and like you said, they're just a fun team to watch. And it's great seeing Mark Jackson, a guy who's been a great ambassador of the game, one of the league's best player announcers, have so much success so soon.
Exactly. Exactly, because he's really been in my eyes he's pretty much going to be the coach of the year. No doubt. He's the coach of the year because he's really got this team buying into his system, and with little NBA experience as well too as a coach. I mean, he's really got this team doing well.
Yeah, and you have to acknowledge that because it's something, a lot of first-time coaches deal with is that first couple of seasons, trying to get the team to buy into the system, getting the right players, things of that nature, and he's got it down pat. He's been doing it for a while.
Right, and, it's really impressive because you looked at how they were doing last year. You kind of was thinking, well, why did they get this coach? But then you also see the returns of it this year. I mean, they really have gotten so much better. Like at home, they're 18-7, and on the road, they might need to up their road record a little bit. But they're pretty much, I mean, with a good winning record at home. I mean, it just shows to you right now that they're pretty much going to be unbeatable and stuff. And it's really going to matter about home field advantage for them.
Right. So, like we both said, without a doubt, he is my vote for Coach of the Year.
And same here. Now let's switch the sports up a little bit right now. We're talking about the combine here, and we had a lot. And this is the time of the season where you got a lot of NFL prospects that actually can move up and move down in the draft board. One of them big names, though, once again, Manti Te'o, and a lot of people were talking about him being in the news about him being catfished, but um, in his I guess he had his 40 time yesterday today actually, and he did not impress everybody. He had a very slow 40 time. I think somebody projected him to have a 40 time of 4.75, and he actually finished with an unofficial time of 4.81. What do you say is going to be Manti Te'o's draft stock? I mean, do you think he's still a first rounder, or do you think he dropped out?
It's tricky because I can see a team still taking him first round, but with the story and the 40 time, and we'll have to see what else he does during the combine. I think he might be a second rounder now. Just the Alabama game too. It just really showed a lot of questions about his game, him playing in high pressure situations, things of that nature. So the jury's still out. I mean, personally, I really wasn't that impressed with his run. I mean, I think he's a great player, but at the end of the day, I don't see him being necessarily a franchise changer, being a leader on defense. Because that's what hurts his stock, because his leadership was so bragged about, and then you have the story unfold, and you start to question his mental fortitude a little bit, and then now the 40 time, which I'm really not shocked about, because just watching him on the field, I didn't necessarily think he had just blazing speed. And I'm never a big supporter of the 40 time in combine. I think it's gotten a tad bit overrated. To me, there's a difference between game speed and running on the track in front of a stopwatch. So I've never held that to such a high standard like most GMs do and whatnot. But I think he's definitely going to be a second rounder at this. What about you, Lamar?
I think that he possibly could drop down to the second round. And I think right now we're at the point where he's probably going to be maybe a late first rounder, early second rounder, and that's not bad. That's not bad to say, but for a guy that many people projected to be in the middle of the first round, it's kind of tough for him. And you kind of had a feeling here that maybe the 40 time has something to do with it. Maybe the character of what we just also learned about him too. But then again, you also got to look at it like this: how can he help out my team? And how can he? I still think he could be a serviceable player and still be a very good linebacker, though.
Right. And just looking at the teams, the way the draft is lining up, I just couldn't see somebody going as high as first round for a linebacker that's not from the SEC, honestly. And picking Towel, I just can't see that happening right now.
No, not at all.
The first linebacker I see going in the draft would have to be the linebacker from Georgia, Jarvis
Jones, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be the first linebacker I see going this draft. Everything else is kind of a wash. I just see him going second round at this right now. Unless something happens that changes it.
Yeah, same here, and I really think that he'll probably get the chance to get picked up to a good team, because you got teams like Baltimore, the Bears. I think the Bears were looking at him. The teams like the Vikings were looking at him too. So it seems like some Midwestern team is pretty much going to pick him and add him into the core. But right now his draft stock is not looking too good right now. He probably will fall into the late second, early second round, late first round as well. So, you know. But hey, funny thing that you did also mention about the 40 time, because we actually saw somebody, I think from Arkansas Pine Bluff or somewhere, some SWAC school, one SWAC school, where a guy was an offensive lineman that actually was running a 4.471.
Wow. Yeah, that just increases stock heavily.
Now I'm still trying to look for his name here somewhere, but all I know is he did come from the SWAC school. But that is amazing right then and there. And well, let me just ask you this here: what do you think about most of the events that they have in the draft stock? Like as far as the 40 time, you did just mention about the 40 time, but like the bench press, the Wonderlic test. What is your take on those things?
I see it all as being just the nature of the draft process. Really, I take no real stock from it. Great players are great players. That's how I look at it. Because we have so many projections and so many things that we think we can base a good player around. But honestly, I go off of game film and prior experiences. For instance, Russell Wilson. He was a guy that took a veteran job, that just got paid a lot of money, took the job, led this team that many people had it probably at best going 8-8, led them close to winning the division, led them to the playoffs. Let's say the team was really one play away from going to the NFC title game, and you had people label him as too short, not fast enough, at best a third rounder, a guy that would be a backup, and he came and did all this, So I don't put much stock in that at all. None of the events, really. I wait on draft, I wait on training camp, and I wait on preseason to make a determination on how well a player is going to be, rookie is going to be. I think it's all really just pomp and circumstance. I think it's something people get hyped up about because there's nothing else to talk about. I mean, the NFL is the number one sport in America, so whenever there's news, we jump and grab on it. And I think the combine is the decade. I just found out what the combine was. I didn't know anything of it. And with the popularization of the NFL and the growing of the NFL Network, the NFL apps, and the growing of social media, now the combine is a big deal. But I didn't know much about the combine last decade. I didn't even know what the Wonderlic test was until Vince Young had such horrible scores. So just things we milk for stories. We milk it for storylines in the draft. We just milk this thing continuously because it's a drought right now. NFL news is needed, so we jump on this and try to milk it for stories. That's how I feel personally. What about you, Lamar?
It's pretty much the same thing too. I mean, even though you might see some 40 times that go well, wow. And actually the guy's name is Terran Armstead from Arkansas Pine Bluff. They actually ran the 4.71. That was the offensive lineman. But you had a lot of people that go wow. I mean, he did this, he did that, and it kind of catches your eye. But then again, you also got to look at the game film too. I mean, really, to be honest with you, not too many players are going to make a straight line in the 40-yard dash, and they're not running with pads, and they're not running with anything else like that. So, it is a little bit different. Now, maybe the bench press might have a little bit something to do because it might test a little bit more the strength and all that. But, you did hit the nail on the head on this one, Rob, because, we are we're starving for stories. And we still got a month away, I think a half a month or at least a month away from the free agency kicks in. So, you really want to try to people really want to try to get some NFL news somehow, and I guess the combine is here for it. So
Right, and it's something that we do. We don't promote this proportion on NBA workouts, NBA
oh no,
camps, because NBA, it's number two, arguably number three when it comes to, popularity in sports. With the NFL being such a massive juggernaut, having all this money laced in these networks and commercials and promotion, you have to keep the stories coming.
Mm-hmm.
And with all season being here, you have to keep the stories coming with the combine. Who ran this 40 time? Who scored this on the one that we said? And it's becoming such a eye roll almost that I lose interest in the combine because, when the draft comes, these players come, and then when the actual playing in the games comes, it's the guy that didn't get drafted that's all of a sudden a star, like Arian Foster. Anybody can tell me his 40 time, or a guy like a Chris Ivory, or just guys that didn't get drafted even, who you didn't even blink or remember what they did at the combine, but now they're stars in the NFL.
Right. And
who remembers Tom Brady's 40 time,
Exactly. And and once again, you still do got your first round picks, but once again, it actually the real test should be the heart. How much harder are you going to put into getting into the league once you get that one shot? And are you going to make a lot out of it? For one instance, LeGarrette Blount was a guy here, which pretty much his draft stock was hurt because of what had happened against Boise State a couple of years ago after that punch. But this is a guy that went undrafted, actually got released from the Tennessee Titans, I think, in 2010. And then winds up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and basically had a very good rookie season and just wowed everybody. So, like you said, once again, it doesn't matter where you get drafted sometimes. It also matters what the situation is too. And, is there anybody around you? How much do you make out of your first chance? How much do you make out of your second chance? Maybe even third chances. So, that's a good thing that you also brought up, though, on that one, Rob.
Right, because like I said, the combine is just an opportunity for us to build up anticipation for the draft, make a couple stars out of guys who really haven't done much yet, and basically just, milk it for what it's worth. Because the NFL is such a cash cow, it's such a big deal that we have to talk about it constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So, without, stories, you really don't have much to talk about, so we have to milk this until the draft actually happens, or, like you said, free agency happens, and just, run its course. Now, I am excited to see things pick up in free agency. We've already seen talks about players restructuring contracts, like Namdi from the Eagles, Michael Vick, who had his contract restructured. What's been the most fascinating headline to you as terms of restructuring contracts go?
In terms of that, I really don't see I kind of hadn't seen too much about the restructuring. I just been keeping up a little bit about what else could happen in the free agency, like maybe where does Alex Smith continue to go. A lot of people still have him thinking about going to maybe the Kansas City Chiefs and stuff. But this is the part of the time where we're gonna see a lot of teams really making those big deals and all that. I actually was surprised that the Eagles decided to keep Michael Vick and allowed him to restructure his contract. I actually was surprised about that because I thought that he was going to be one of the players that was going to be gone. But it looks like that Chip Kelly's going to give him a chance, and it looks like the Eagles are going to give him another chance and stuff, and hopefully he can make the most out of that one. But really, it's going to be a point in the time here where you're going to see a lot of teams actually get the chance to make a deal and make a move in here somewhere like that.
Right. And like you said, the fact that the Eagles gave Michael Vick another lifeline, Michael Vick is clearly, his career will go down as one of the most confusing, yet rewarding, yet just unstoppable stories in NFL history because he is a guy who came in with so much hype. He was supposed to change the game of football, and he got his chance in Atlanta, blew us away, electrified the league, became one of the league's, top talents. Of course, the dog fighting scandal happened. He lost everything, was in jail, given another chance to play for the Eagles, had to play backup, earned the starting spot, took this team to the playoffs, was considered to be an MVP candidate. Just a great story, and then you start having this downward spiral of injuries and subpar performances to where you start to question was he still the same player. And now he's got another chance to come back and, regain his superstar status. So the Michael Vick story, the Michael Vick experience has been a hell of a ride, and it continues to get interesting every season.
Right, and and funny that you also did mention that too, because what if they would have made that roller coaster ride, made that as a roller coaster ride, given you remember the commercial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what if they would have made another commercial or something like that,
Yeah, it was going to happen if he had a great season this upcoming year because the man's career is undoubtedly a movie fodder. It's movie material because it's been that much of a ride.
Right. And and I think part of it is once again, he has to tailor his game in order to be a quarterback. Now, once again, that he has that great blazing speed and all, but the problem is sometimes he can get hurt. He gets hurt a lot, and I don't think he's ever played a full season ever since he's been in the league. And that's one of the things. His durability is a concern. What the Eagles really need to do is they need to protect him a little bit more, and they need to really spend some more money on their offensive line, because we've seen over the last couple of years, he's been getting knocked around silly, and he's been knocked out of games and all that. So, once they start doing that, maybe we might see a little bit more of a better Michael Vick, more of the potential that we really realized on him. But until then, I really don't know.
Right, and this is going to be a season. He might not even have the starting job from start to season due to his competition with Nick Foles and Dennis Dixon and a new head coach in Chip Kelly. So who knows? We might. With knowing Chip Kelly, I would be shocked if we saw a combination of the trio play during the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is going to be different, and it's going to be fun to watch, given the talent the Eagles have, and watching them try to put this stuff together. Now, one of the surprise casualties I saw this NFL offseason due to the contracts and free agency was Ahmad Bradshaw, a guy that was the workhorse of this New York Giants team, and to see him, be cut was a bit of a surprise. But what's been a surprise cut for you so far this early NFL offseason?
I'd have to say that one because, like you said about the Giants, he was pretty much the workhorse of that team, and he actually did a very nice job. But then now you just see that they got rid of him. That's kind of a startling one, and I'm pretty sure once we get down to the, get down even more to the NFL free agency signing period, that we might see a little bit more. I think I don't know. Has Charles Woodson been released yet or something?
Yeah. Charles Woodson has been released.
Yeah. Now I know that one was kind of startling because he was pretty good, but then again, I think maybe the Packers probably wanted to get a little bit older. I mean, younger. And
he had some injury problems.
Yeah, he had some injury problems. So, but I really think he could land somewhere. He can really land somewhere. He actually can land to a contender.
New England, definitely a contender.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure that he can land somewhere like that. Another one I think was something about the Dallas Cowboys that they had been rumored that they might get rid of. Miles Austin. So what do you think about that one?
Wow, I definitely don't see that one coming, and I really don't think that would be the right move, considering that when last season the Dallas Cowboys got pretty low on receivers. So you think they'll kind of keep as many as they have. I hope it's something they don't do, because given when he's open and when he's given targets, he's a pretty solid receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, considering the fact, like I said, last year with all the injuries they had, you know, I would keep the guy around. You know, the Cowboys definitely have they had to make shift for a lot of receivers. You know, you saw the emergence of Ogletree.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple other guys I can't even name. I'm sure you know them, but there was a lot of games where Romo he was throwing the guys that a lot of people didn't even recognize.
Right.
Because of Dez injuries with his finger. Miles also at one point had a bruised rib. He had some injuries. A lot of guys hurt. You know, and Cowboys definitely touched all the receivers they had. Jason Witten was off and on. You know, he's always a warrior, but he had his injury. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm definitely interested in signing a receiver such as a Randy Moss or a Greg Jennings type of guy who's going into his free agency period. So, you know, if I'm the Cowboys, I try to get one of those type of guys, and we're going to let Miles also go, to put next to Dez Bryant.
And, you know, I really think that the Randy Moss thing would be a great idea, because really we should have drafted Randy Moss back in 1998.
Right.
But they had
Randy Moss is the type of guy who he wasn't happy with his role in San Francisco. They noticed it several times. I don't think he's going to be in the situation when he comes back to 49ers. And like you just mentioned, he wanted to play for the Cowboys, was supposed to be drafted, but you know, things happened. So it would be almost like full circle that he should land out.
So, you know, we really wish that maybe they could just try to make some moves here and there and stuff like that can also help out too.
Right, and with Romo's big playability,
that's right. Well, we're going to go ahead and take ourselves another 30-second break, and we will be back on the air. Actually, we're going to try to test Rob's knowledge of NASCAR a little bit. And this is going to be fun for the both of us. So we're going to come right back on the air, and in about 30 seconds, this is the Gafford and Brown Show. Back to the Gafford and Brown Show, and like we said before, we are going to talk a little bit about the Daytona 500. Now, one of the big stories here was Jimmy Johnson. He won the second Daytona 500 on yesterday, but the main story was Danica Patrick throughout the whole day, and she actually she finished in eighth place. Top 10 finish. Now, looking at her success of the in NASCAR right now, do you think that she could have long-term success, Rob?
Granted, yeah, she's been around for a while now. She's done a lot. She's had the GoDaddy commercials. She's a great sport, a great ambassador. She's also very attractive, so I definitely see her sticking around in NASCAR for a long time. My only problem with Danica Patrick is she's like the Anna Kournikova of racing. She doesn't win much, but she's so darn pretty and so positive that you have to like her. And it's not necessarily a problem. It's just that, you know, when you go down the list of accomplishments, I can't name much other than her having GoDaddy commercials. So, you know, she's definitely a household name now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you mentioned Jeff Gordon, you mentioned Dale Earnhardt Jr., and then Danica Patrick, to me, when it comes to NASCAR. And the overall, you know, popularity of the sport. Now, granted, I don't know much about NASCAR. It's kind of fun to watch when you put money on it. I mean, that's the only way I can really watch it. If I bet on a car and hope they win, or hope they finish in whatever bet I made. I mean, that's the most fun I have on a NASCAR. But, you know, it's definitely something I watch around the time of the Daytona 500 or the Indy 500, things of that nature. 'Cause I mean, it's something that it's a niche sport.
Right. And I really like to watch, and those two events I really like to watch. But outside of much of the car racing, I'm really not gonna watch the full 500-mile race. I'm really not gonna do that. I kind of don't have the patience. I kind of don't have the time to do that. I'm sorry, but maybe for like the last 10, 20 laps, I might would watch because I guess we all want to see winners and we all want to see excitement, and I guess those last few laps do breathe excitement. Like you said about it being a niche sport, you have a lot of people that actually really that really like it. I mean, because I had a friend that actually he loves the sport. And I remember when he came into when I was in college, he came to the dorm rooms. He would always watch. He would always turn it on to the NASCAR game, to a NASCAR race. He would always do that. Even when we had the NBA playoff game was going on, we had two TVs. He turned on the little TV to a NASCAR race, and he was the only one in the room watching it, and yet the rest of us were watching basketball, which I feel like that was one of the most craziest things. But it is a pretty good, interesting sport on that one. So, from that point, it's in spurts. I guess it pretty much takes in how much do you like it in spurts. Like we do have people that we want to root for. Like one reason I want to see Dale Earnhardt actually win a championship because I actually feel like he's hip, he's fun, and all that. And based on his commercials with T.I. once before. Outside of that, I'm not a diehard fan of it. So,
And that's one thing I give NASCAR credit for. They stay relevant and they stay in pop culture lore because you can make the argument that they're more popular than hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And hockey is a sport that has a little bit more, prestige and a bit more, it's more respected more. It's more so considered a sport. But NASCAR has passed it in terms of popularity due to the household names like Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Danica Patrick, the Talladega Nights, the Will Ferrell movie. It's things that they do that keeps them on the tip of your tongue or keep you somewhat interested. I mean, even look at SportsCenter. You get more shows dedicated to, you get more highlights from NASCAR sometimes than you even see hockey. I mean, on ESPN too, NASCAR has their own show. I don't think hockey has a Hockey Tonight or anything anymore. It's just little things like that you see.
Mm-hmm. So
it's growing. It's continued growth.
Yeah, so because a lot of people really do like the sport, and you see some of the people from the grandstands, you can say that they do like it a whole lot. Now, one sad thing we have to really say about this was that they had a little bit of a problem in Daytona, where there were, I think, after a crash in one of the smaller races. I think the Nationwide series, where a car actually went airborne, hit one of the catch fences, and actually injured some people. I think 7 people were hospitalized and stable after that crash. You think that they're trying to take how much safer? I mean, do you think they're trying to take the proper? It seems like they're trying to take the proper measures of being safe, but what should I say about this is, do you think they could be a little bit safer in this case, Rob?
Well, first off, that story you just told is one reason why I never go to a live NASCAR event. And secondly, I'm sure there are more safety precautions you can take, but whenever you have a sport where you have cars going really, really fast in a circle, it's only so much safety you can enforce. Now, we've seen a lot of changes made, especially since the death of Dale Earnhardt Sr. We've seen a lot of changes made to keep these drivers safe and to keep the sport from being, just a crash fest. But, the fan safety thing is one that we haven't heard that much of because, usually crashes happen on the sides or, we've seen a lot of cars flip over into the grass. But I'm sure there are going to be precautions made. There are going to be changes made to keep fans safer in these environments, and it's just things you just take and you can see to learn from.
Right, and once again, my hearts and prayers go out to all those that were affected by it because nobody really wants to see anything like that. Because you're expecting when you go to a race, you're expecting to see a race, and you're expecting to see news that's happening, but you never expect to be in the news, and you never expect to be seriously injured like that. And I believe that's one of the things that you really have to focus on because you don't want to see that happen. And but I do believe, but once again, that they're gonna try to make a way in order to increase fan safety on this. They did it for the drivers. They're gonna have to try to do something to see for the fans. So they're gonna have to do something about that because once again, it is dangerous. And once you get somebody that's driving along and probably about 180 miles an hour coming in contact with a fence or with a wall, that's kind of not good. So,
Right. So things are going to be done, and changes are going to be made. But these people run NASCAR, and they're not going anywhere.
Mhm. So now here's an interesting thing too. What I just saw, and we were talking about the combine here, but I just saw that Tyrann Mathieu, the honey badger from LSU, he was actually tried to. He's at the combine, actually trying to increase his draft stock, and he actually bench pressed 225 pounds 4 times. Now, what do you think about uh, Tyrann's stock as a professional?
I see him getting drafted easily. Granted, he has his issues, he has his troubles, but that season at LSU he had, there's going to be somebody to take the chance on him. Granted, this is not through the draft, maybe the supplemental draft, maybe he'll walk on. He's going to be on somebody's team come preseason
Mm-hmm.
or during the regular season. He's going to make, take for example, Pac-Man Jones.
Right.
Pac-Man Jones has been in continued trouble throughout his career.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, trouble follows the man, yet the guy's still in the NFL.
Right.
So, I see him, the Honey Badger retirement. I see him definitely getting on the team. Like I said, I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know how he's going to get going to the draft, but somehow, some way, this guy's going to be on an NFL roster come preseason or start of the season.
Mm-hmm. And I really think so too, because once again, if he could just keep his nose clean from being in trouble, he'll find himself on an NFL roster. Because you really look at the guy from 2000 and 2011 for LSU, he really has a nose for the ball. Like if the ball's down, he's going to be anywhere around it. He's going to make some big plays, doing fumble recoveries and all that stuff. Um, we're not going to say that could he be a top corner like a 1 or 2 in somebody's team? Maybe not, but could he be like a nickelback or something like that? Absolutely, sure. And I really think that he will find his way on some team, and hopefully some team takes a flyer on him and actually gives him a chance.
Right, and it's going to happen. Like I said, don't know where, don't even know how, but he's going to get on a team somehow, some way. There's going to be some GM that takes a chance on this guy.
Absolutely, and once again, you gotta hope that it's going to be anybody pretty much. So let's see, I'm still trying to look for some more news as well, and we actually got our college basketball rankings, and we're getting now to the point in the time where it's starting to get down to the nitty gritty. We're almost to March Madness time here, and we're looking at the number. We're looking at the top teams in the media poll, the AP poll. We have actually the media and the coaches poll are kind of the same for the top 4 teams. They got Indiana at 1, Gonzaga at 2, Duke at 3, Michigan at 4, and the only difference that they have starting off here is at 5, where the AP has Miami at 5, and the coaches have Kansas at 5. What do you think about those rankings?
Miami scares the hell out of me. As a fan of Duke, you have to see what they did to Duke earlier this year. Man, Miami is one of those teams that you just don't know. They could turn out payday, get a high seed. This is a team that could probably go. I could go on equal to the league. And it's going to be a fun tournament this year. I'm actually excited about it compared to like last year. I think the last year, so many people were just like, oh, well, Kentucky's going to win. So it was almost guaranteed Kentucky's going to win it last year. Now this year, you have so many teams that are so well put together. And next up, well, you have Indiana, you have Michigan. You always can't count out on this Michigan State. Kansas is right there. Duke is still in the race. Miami has definitely made, a statement. Down here, they're doing with Northwestern State University.
Mm-hmm.
They have a shot at maybe somehow landing into the tournament. If they can pull out, the Southland and somehow, win the early tournament, they can get in. Also, Louisiana State has had a great season. They're putting up great numbers. They have a chance even to land early game in the tournament. There's just a lot of great stories going on right now, like on the national level and local level.
And that's always a very good thing. And I'm gonna give you another team here too. Southern's actually doing pretty well in the SWAC, and they might find themselves in there maybe because they're 20-8. Now maybe they might can win a game, maybe not. But then
if I'm not mistaken, Southern was in the tournament. They won the Big Dance last year or the year before last. But that definitely has success going to the tournament.
I'm trying to look that up right now. I think they were in there fairly recently, though. I do know that much. So, but yeah, but looking at it though from every other aspect here, Miami's really good. And I did not expect them to be this good, but props to what Jim Naranega is doing to that team. I mean, you saw what he could do at George Mason in 2006 and taking them all the way to the Final Four. And to see what he's doing in Miami and making them to be the crop of the ACC, where it's always dominated by Duke and North Carolina and all the other ones in Tobacco Road, it's just amazing to see what he was doing. And I know that he lost the game against his team lost against Wake Forest, but still you can't take anything away from that because he's really been doing a good job so far.
Definitely.
But yeah, looking at all the other tournaments and stuff too, I mean, from the local level, I really hope that some team does very well because I can still remember how did y'all do in I think how did Northwestern State do in 2006. I still remember their upset win against Iowa pretty fondly, and that was just amazing right there. I mean, what would you take out of that one, Rob? I mean, were you excited about that?
Oh man, I don't even look at it like yesterday. The viewing they had a viewing for it in the student union, and we're a small town school. No one expected Northwestern State to do anything special, really. We were just happy to be there. And, for that team to do that, and then the suspense, that buzzer beater, it was just clearly one of the shining moments of that tournament. I mean, granted, George Mason going to the Final Four pretty much kind of overshadowed that.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that we were able to put an elite team like Iowa and go to the second round was just it was a great Cinderella moment, and what will always be remembered as a Cinderella season for several teams. The George Mason season was really special. A lot of small schools made runs, and it set the tone. Because you look at it now, you have small town schools getting these upset wins over elite programs. BTU, who made a lot of noise not too long ago. Just continued success of small programs. And it's something that you see a lot of now. And it's something you're going to continue to see a lot of now because the talent is spreading out so much now.
Right. And, Butler's another school, too, because you also got to look at them for not making not one Final Four appearance, but two Final Four appearances. And actually to the national championship game, which you really would, they were so close to winning that game against Duke, I think in 2010. If there's one thing that the one and done rule has really done for these schools is that even though it kind of makes it hard for like the elite talent sometimes to keep the team together because you always got some players that always go to the school for 1 year and stay there, but then you also got some of these smaller schools that might have the continuity and they are very scary. And it seems like you wind up wanting to root for them. And when it comes down to that tournament time, and one of the things I saw from ESPN that this might be the last year for bracket busters, and I really hope that this is not the last year for it because I really enjoy seeing some of these small schools getting to know them, and then looking at them in the tournament and see that they made a run. You can actually look at it and say, hey, well, look, you kind of have a sense of entitlement saying, hey, I saw this team. This team is very good. This team is really scary.
Bracket busters will always exist and always be there. I mean, it's just the nature of the game. There's always going to be that upset. There's always going to be that one team that rises to the occasion. I mean, granted, people want to see the elite programs do well. You want to see the North Carolinas, the Dukes, the Maryland, the Louisville, Kentucky do well. But, I mean, this is just a changing of the guard sometimes, when you have, like you said, the one and done rule. And, that's something that it hurts a lot of things, but when you have great coaches like a Tom Izzo or, great programs like Florida, Billy Donovan, I think that Joe Noah team, the Al Horford team from 07, 08 is so underrated because not only did he keep those guys there for the majority of their college careers, they also went back to back. And, that's something we haven't seen since.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's just something special. And it still can happen in this era of one and done.
Right, and it still can happen. It's just that can you persuade your players to stay? And like you said, those two players, those two coaches, Billy Donovan and Tom Izzo, they do such a very good job in keeping the teams together. And actually, Mike Krzyzewski, he does a pretty nice job in keeping the teams together. Even though you might have a couple of players that might go one and done, Coach K really does a good job in keeping some of these players because he teaches them the right way. He builds in he puts a mindset into them to win. And one guy that I really like from Duke, even though I don't like the team that much, I really like Seth Curry. Seth Curry, which I believe he could be a pretty good player in the NBA, just like Steph and Dale. And you got some players that are there that they really like, and then you also got North Carolina, which last year you could have thought that maybe Harrison Barnes would have done the one and done, but he actually decided to stay there another year. He kept the core of the team together. He had Tyler Zeller, John Henson, Barnes, and I think Kendall Marshall. He kept that team together, and even though they did not make it to the finals, to the Final Four, they at least made it to the Elite Eight. And you got something right there for that. So the continuity, you can still keep that in there. Everybody wants to see some different faces sometimes, but then again, if you have that continuity, we can still root for you too.
Right.
So we're pretty much looking at some more of the news here. We're pretty much almost to the end of the show, so we're basically going to look and see what else is here from a news standpoint. The NHL, they might have themselves a new realignment program right now where some of these teams might be changing up. I really just hope for one thing that they could just keep the conference rivalries together and stuff like that. So, I hope that they could do that. Another NHL news here: the Chicago Blackhawks are still doing nicely this season. I think they're to the point where they're I think they've gone like almost 20 games with at least getting at least a point, which that's very impressive in its own right too. Because let me see,
Right.
I'm trying to look
Yeah,
right here.
yeah. And I haven't seen much hockey myself this year. I usually wait until the playoffs to really get it, or close to playoff time to start watching. But definitely glad back, and I'm going to get into it as soon as I can.
And likewise too, because I really enjoy it from time to time. I mean, I'm not a big fan of it, but I like it to really pass the time away sometimes too. So, that's always a good thing to looking at that. Um, let's see, Virginia Tech. I'm reading up. Let's see, Virginia Tech group reaches out to some Chardon High students as I think. Let's see, cope with the first anniversary of a cafeteria shooting, which I still believe that's still a good thing for them, because everybody still remembers the Virginia Tech shooting, and everybody still sees all these other shootings going around and all that stuff. So you got that. Let me see, and then also Johnny Manziel. He has a corporation. They're trying to file a lawsuit to protect the name Johnny Football.
Wow. Now, that's what I want to touch upon, too. Jalen Hill has been launched into this level of popularity and superstar that I'm starting to think that this kid is really getting a big head. Like, I mean, there was a thing when he went to the Miami Heat game. He had courtside tickets, and people were like, well, how can he afford courtside tickets? And he was like, this is my birthday treat to myself. Then there was he said recently he doesn't spend much time on campus because all of his classes was going to be online soon, and that kind of raised a few eyebrows. And now he has this going on trying to protect his nickname. These guys, I mean, it's clear now that next season will be his last season probably at Texas A&M.
Oh, more than likely. More than likely. He's going to be a pretty good high draft pick. Maybe the Jaguars might get him somewhere down the road too. But man, I looking at his Twitter account, and over the last couple of weeks since Texas A&M season had been over with, I mean, you saw him going to a Rockets game. You saw him going to a Mavericks game. You saw him going to a casino gambling, so gambling some money away and all that stuff. Hey, it kind of make it seem like, man, don't you wish that you could tone this down a little bit, because the NCAA can actually be like the NCAA is kind of like the feds in some case too. I mean,
right. Yeah, and it's definitely eyebrow raising that he's doing all this. I mean, granted, he had a hell of a season, broke a lot of records, won the Heisman, won the bowl game. The kid's definitely a star, but it's like, it's a little too much control. I also want to bring up one thing. I know people don't want to touch on this, but if Johnny Manziel was, let's say if Cam Newton was doing the same thing Johnny Manziel was doing, don't you think a little more eyebrows would have been raised? I mean, I'm just saying. I don't like playing that card, but I'm just saying.
And that is an interesting thing, because a lot of people have saw this from before about him, that we all know the Cam Newton thing quite fondly, and we all know that he was almost to the case where he was almost going to have to face sanctions, and Auburn was going to have to face sanctions and stuff, and they dodged the bullet on that one. But you do kind of make a good point there on that one, Rob.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning because this is crazy. I mean, the guy has literally become an overnight sensation, and he's doing all these things, and you wonder, well, where is he getting his money from? Where is he getting his access to all these things? And it's weird we haven't seen any word from the NCAA or anything of that nature, because I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, that is true, man. That is very, very true. So we hope that we're pretty much gonna close the book on it, call it a day on this show right now. Any idea when it's gonna be our next show for us, Rob?
Um, we can see if we can do something Friday.
All right, that pretty much works for me. That really does work for me. I think I'm off on Friday too. Yeah, I'm off on this Friday. Yeah, I'm off on this Friday. Yeah, yeah. So that really works for us, and we might either do it during the day or maybe even during the night. So who knows what could happen here.
Right.
So hopefully, as also the baseball season is coming up, hopefully we might can get maybe a couple of guests on the show to talk about the baseball season.
Definitely got to talk about the way Josh Hamilton pretty much bashed Texas fans and saying Dallas fans really weren't real baseball fans.
Oh, most definitely. We definitely have to talk about that one, but we'll save that one for our next show. I promise we will save that one for our next show because I'm very sure both of us have something to say about that.
Right.
So, yeah. So right now, well, once again, this is the Gafford and Brown Show. I'm Lamar Gafford.
I'm Robert Brown, and we hope to see you guys Friday.
Most definitely, and take care and have a nice day and God bless.